Philly Sports Talk's list of the top 50 greatest NBA players of all time is finally done and ready to go in the first part of a five-part series, with today's being rankings 50 through 41. I'm Coy Kemmershirley of Philly Sports Talk here. It has been a long time coming. I started this list back in COVID. Now, there have been a lot of breaks and a lot of different pauses on the list, and quite frankly, a lot of times I just need to learn more ball. And listen, nobody's ever going to be a master at knowing ball. I've obviously only seen a certain many of these players because I'm 20 years old. But I did a lot of research into this. Everyone's list is going to be different. I think this one is going to be a good one. And you know what? It's all opinionated, so agree to disagree. But I am very excited for this. So I'm going to get into my criteria first for how I will be ranking these players over the next five episodes. Again, today's players 50 through 41. I kind of ranked it solely on, well, I factored in a ton of things. So accolades is obviously in there, longevity, impact, legacy, clutch factor, but mainly like how their peak was. And like obviously the peak had to have lasted a little while, and that's where the longevity comes in. Like I can't do a Derrick Rose, 3 to 4 season peak here. Even that's not awful, but I'm talking like a dominance, how they dominated. I don't care what era it was, because if this was solely just off talent, Joel Embiid would be top 20 and we'd have plenty. It would mainly be a lot of guys from this generation. That's not bias, it's just an evolution on people and basketball players and athletes. So, this is how they dominated in their era and the impact and the legacy that they made combined with the accolades, longevity, impact, as I said. But mainly just the legacy. So, that's how it's kind of rated. Again, there's a lot of different faults here and there that kind of makes things more difficult. But let's get right into it. So I want to start by naming a handful of players that just missed, that were like kind of in consideration, that missed outside of the top 50. A couple of these names, this is not in any particular order. These are just five or six names players that I thought could be there, and I was getting ready to rank them, but didn't have them. Dennis Rodman, his impact was unreal with that Bulls dynasty. There's no doubt about that. One of the greatest defenders and obviously rebounders at his peak as well. But he just doesn't have, for me, he just doesn't have the legacy to make the list considering the guys that are ahead of him. There's no doubt that he was an excellent ball player, but there are some great ones ahead of him. So he misses. Walt Frazier, another excellent player, but I couldn't put him in over any of my top 50. He was one of the closer ones to that 50 rank, but I ultimately decided with my 50, and I'll get to that in a few. Reggie Miller as well, one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time, just doesn't really have the accolades for it. I could not put him over my 50, as I said. Ray Allen, also kind of similar. He's pretty close as well. Probably would be closer to 51, 52 for me. Insane three-point shooter, kind of similar to Reggie Miller, but I just couldn't do it. And then there's three other guys who are pretty close. And now these two you kind of sometimes see in top 50s. Kevin McHale, I couldn't do it. I just don't understand it. He didn't have the longevity, and he was never really a number one option. Great player, excellent player on a dynasty team. But he was like, he won the Sixth Man of the Year award twice. Like, he was a sixth man. Now, granted, it was on stacked Celtics teams, but I couldn't put him in. I originally had him in the top 50, but as I was reviewing my list, I took him out. There's no reason for me to have him in. James Worthy, another excellent player in my eyes, just didn't have the accolades for this list, and especially over the 50th ranked player. And the last one, George Mikan, kind of an older guy and had excellent numbers because he did dominate, but he only played 439 games. I couldn't put him in here. Now, this is where the little controversy is going to be here today, because I'm going to have some controversial names right away in this top 50, because I have a couple guys that have only played that or so many games. But for me, he's not in the top 50. So let's get into the top 50. Those are the names of the guys I had in consideration. At number 50, I have Gary Payton. So he was originally not in my rankings. Again, I think I had Kevin McHale and James Worthy originally on my list or something like that. I edited it a while ago, took those guys off and put a couple new ones in. There's no reason Gary Payton shouldn't be in this for me. Unbelievable on both sides of the ball. Nine-time All-Star, nine-time All-NBA, nine-time All-Defense with the Defensive Player of the Year award back in 95-96 and a steals title to go along with it. The first ever point guard to win a Defensive Player of the Year award, and one of only two ever, along with Marcus Smart, actually semi-recently. Also won a championship back in 2006. Granted, it was on the back end of his career, but it's kind of one of those things, you got guys like Russ and players like that that are chasing championships, and that could really fill that missing hole in their accolades and trophy case to cement them as one of these kinds of players. So again, it was with the Heat, back end of his career, but excellent player. And in his prime too, he was going up against Jordan and the Bulls. Kind of got it into Jordan's head a little bit in that 95-96 finals. So overall, I think he's here. The nickname The Glove is a sick nickname for his defense. And a very, very deserving spot in my opinion. His numbers too, excellent numbers, 16.5 points per game, 4 rebounds, 6.5 assists, shot nearly 47% from the field over his career. He's part of the 75th anniversary team, and just his defensive play style to go along with his offense, just for me, it just puts him up there. Played 1,335 career games as well. I really like Gary Payton, very deserving spot. I was disappointed myself that I did not have him in this list originally. So he's my number 50. As I get into my number 49, there will be times where I'm probably going to have to do cuts to pull up the stats and my other notes, because I have a lot of notes and a lot of stats, and I want to pull up basketball reference pages, and I don't want to be typing, as you guys can hear me. So do a cut here to get ready for my number 49. My number 49 is Paul Pierce. Now this was another one that I originally did not have on this list, and then I really kind of woke up a little bit and was like, no, that's stupid. He should be on this. 2008 championship, which really solidified him on here. He won the Finals MVP. He stuck with the Celtics through the bad times, and he has the accolades to go along with it. 10-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, All-Rookie team in his first year, and again, that Finals MVP, which is big time for his legacy. He's obviously always going to be known for the wheelchair meme in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, but apparently he actually had an MCL sprain or something. I don't know. Hit a lot of big-time shots. He's, again, stuck with the Celtics through the tough times and leads their franchise in a lot of categories. Big-time trash talker, extremely confident, and for me, on this list, it means something. Like, your attitude does mean something. Like, I was thinking about this, and I don't want to get into Jordan and LeBron yet, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm so up in the air with who I have at number 1. But, like, if LeBron, for me, like, I'm trying to just not factor in his attitude too much, because if, like, he had the mentality of Jordan or, like, Kobe or something like that kind of attitude, I don't know if he'd be my, like, consensus number 1. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about Jordan and LeBron too much. But it does mean something when you are a confident trash talker and can back it up. And Paul Pierce was exactly that. To go along with an insane resume and a really good three-point shooter as well. 37% for his career from beyond the arc. I was really surprised I didn't have him on this list originally. Throughout his career, averaged 19.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Just an elite basketball player, and I don't know why. I don't know how I didn't have him on this list. I will say he was never even in the top 6 of MVP voting, but he was in some stacked MVP voting, like some stacked MVP candidate seasons. And a lot of his years, he was averaging around 26 points per game while being an elite defender on some good numbers. So that's a very good ball player, even in this generation, with a lot more scoring. So I really like Paul Pierce in this list. I really don't know how I had some other guys over him. And again, as I said, I kind of woke up a little bit. So I'll also discuss how the players are ranked over one another. In this case, Paul Pierce makes it over Gary Payton. And for me, what does it, the Finals MVP is a big thing, but especially he does have a little bit more in the trophy case in terms of All-Stars at least. Gary Payton does have more All-NBAs, but it was pretty close. The Finals MVP is a big thing for me, and I do like Paul Pierce overall all-time, especially considering leading the Celtics in a lot of big-time categories. Obviously, it's such a historic franchise. I do have Paul Pierce over Gary Payton here. So go to my number 48 and take a quick cut. My number 48 is an older player. I'm going George Gervin with my number 48. But do not doubt this player. And I'll tell you, I also watched a lot of highlights of everybody on my list. Like, I watched some clips on them, on their game and stuff. And let me tell you, if you haven't seen his finger rolls yet, you got to go watch some highlights. It is one of the smoothest finger rolls you'll ever watch, even in the mid to late 70s, going into the early 80s. It is something else. And honestly, it was one of the most unblockable shots in basketball history. George Gervin, elite basketball player, averaged 25 points per game across his career, shooting 50% from the field. Has the trophy case to go along with it. 12-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 2-time All-ABA. and a 4-time scoring champion, which is ridiculous. So, unbelievable numbers there. Nicknamed the Iceman for his cool demeanor. That's another cool nickname. The nicknames don't mean much for me. I know I talk about Gary Payton's the glove, but they are cool. I just wanted to say that. He's also one of those only players that could make the jump from the ABA to the NBA and have some extreme success. You will see some other guys on this list that were also capable of doing that. But seriously, George Gervin, extremely crafty, smooth basketball player, and deadly efficient. Not necessarily flashy, which a lot of guys back in the mid to late 70s, early 80s were not, but some great stuff. And still known to this day for his legendary 63-point performance in a single half back in 1978 to win the scoring title of that season. And also was the beginning of the big names that would kind of like enter that San Antonio franchise. San Antonio home to David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Victor Wembanyama, now obviously George Gervin kind of put them on the map a little bit. So big reason for that franchise. And again, averaging over 25 points per game and over 50% from the field for your career. Finished in the top 5 MVP voting for 4 straight years with some really good players at that time in those top 5. It's some great stuff. George Gervin, 48, well-deserved. And with his scoring resume and just his accolades, I think there's a good reason why I have him over both Gary Payton and Paul Pierce. Going into my number 47, this is really close, 47-48. Between my number 47, George Gervin, I was kind of torn. But number 47, I have Elvin Hayes. So again, another older gen player. Kind of similar accolades. George Gervin was the better scorer, but Elvin Hayes does have something that George Gervin did not, a 1978 NBA championship to go along with 12 All-Star appearances, 2-time rebounding champion, 6-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defense, and he also had a scoring title back in 68-69, so that's some older years there. But a couple accolades there that George Gervin did not have, and to go along with this, Elvin Hayes is some of the most impressive Iron Man streaks you'll ever see. He only missed 9 games in 16 seasons. He played 1,303 games out of 1,312 potential career games, which is crazy. I don't care what age it is or how people are training nowadays. Like, even at that time, playing that many games is just unbelievable. So he would manage to completely avoid any detrimental injury. Just crazy stuff, honestly. Automatic turnaround fadeaway jumper in his game and a relentless rebounder. Go watch that turnaround fadeaway jumper as I was talking about. The 2 rebounding titles is nice too. So Iron Man consistent, that's a big thing for me. That builds a legacy. Again, that's what kind of puts you over the edge here. I think if he didn't have something as cool as that, I probably would have him below George Gervin. But again, he had that title as well that George Gervin does not have. And he also led the league in scoring his rookie year. So some crazy stuff. And number 11 is retired by the Wizards today. So that's my number 47. And I'm warning you guys now, this is where things get controversial. But I don't care. I made this list based off my opinion. There's going to be some recency bias. But at the same time, this is how players have dominated in their time. And this is not just a new thing. This has been going on since 2019, 2020. Number 46, I have Luka Doncic. Yes, it's a little bold. It's recency bias. I get it, but I don't care. This dude literally has GOAT-like numbers. And if he had titles under his belt, which he doesn't, that's a massive if because most players don't have titles under the belt, he would literally be in contention for the greatest basketball player of all time. His numbers are the best numbers, like considering his generation of all time, in my opinion. 20.5 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists per game. Just ridiculous. It's insane because he doesn't have an MVP. And obviously that also affects things. And he also has only been to 1 finals, and they were just outplayed by the Celtics in 5 games just 2 years ago. So it stinks. Because again, if this guy had 2 finals wins already in not in the first 8 years of his career, we're looking at a guy that could have been the GOAT of basketball. And there's still time. He's still young. I don't think it's going to happen. To become the GOAT of basketball, that's some crazy stuff. You're asking for a lot of things to go right. But he's only 26 years old. That's the kind of potential this guy is. I had to put him here. I know he's only been around since 2018. He's only played 450 games. And yes, I know I took off George Mikan because he only played 439 games. I don't care. Luka Doncic is absolutely dominant. I had to put him on this list. Unbelievable numbers. He does have the Western Conference Finals MVP. But again, they just were not even contending in that championship with the Celtics. It really wasn't close. So there's a lot of time for him to take a hefty jump on this list. I believe he will jump some players on this list. He's got to win an MVP or two. But it's so tough in this year's or in this league now with Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, all those kinds of guys. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming off one. So many dominant players in the league, and Luka has not been able to get over that hump of passing Nikola Jokic, even though he's been pretty close a couple times. It is interesting now because obviously with the Lakers, he has a chance to do some crazy things in a bigger market, especially, and create that legacy if he decides to stay there long term. But I want to see him make this jump on the list, and I don't care how recency biased it is. There's no denying how unbelievable this basketball player is. I had to put him on here. So that's my number 46. And I will warn you now, things are going to stay interesting here for my number 45. This was another one that I know a lot of people outside of Philly are not going to like. I had Joel Embiid at 45. Might be biased, might be a Sixers fan, but at the same time, this is one of the most dominant scorers at the center position of all time. I had to put him here. There's a reason I have him over Luka. I'll get to that in a second. But there's just no denying how good this player is. Now, obviously, I mentioned like championships mean something, legacy means something. Joel Embiid's never made out of the second round. I know. There's been a lot of contending in that second round. But this dude is just unbelievable. And the hate is so forced, man. It's so forced. 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense, has 2 scoring titles. He has an MVP. He was able to surpass that Nikola Jokic MVP-like season, which was tough for 3 straight years, but he did deserve it that season. That's something Luka Doncic has not been able to do. That is one of the things that factored into it. I know Luka has made a finals, but they really didn't even contend in it. It definitely means something to get there, and I factored that in. But Joel Embiid, with his defense and offense, and considering he's one of the most dominant bigs of all time, that's why I have him over Luka Doncic, especially with that MVP to go along with it. And I just wish he wasn't so hated as he is. It's really a shame. Again, might be some Philly biasness here. I don't care. People are starting to forget how good this guy really is, and it just really is so forced. So Embiid, he also does have the accolades a little bit over me. He's got a couple more All-Star appearances as well than Lukic, oh my gosh, than Doncic. But again, I don't care how biased it may seem. There's no denying how good it is. And if you don't like this, I really want you to just go watch Embiid highlights again because I think you're really just letting your hate for him get to you. He is unbelievable. So that's my number 45. Those 2 players both snuck in just because of how dominant they are. Even though they haven't had the longevity yet. I know. George Mikan, 439 games, and Embiid and Luka Doncic are right on the same thing, and I criticized Mikan for that. I don't care. George Mikan wasn't Luka Doncic or Joel Embiid. So, these 2 guys, they had to make the list for me. I know it's controversial, but it is what it is. So, I'll get into my number 44. We might be coming back down to planet Earth here on 44, but a lot of guys might not even have this player this high, which I think is kind of crazy. Number 44, I have Kyrie Irving. So, I mean, for me, it's a pretty easy reason why he's over Embiid and Doncic as the guys I said. But this is one of the best ball handlers of all time, if not the best. And again, I know there's some recency bias in this debate, but Kyrie Irving, he does have the resume for it too. 9-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA. He won the Rookie of the Year award. And he has one of the heaviest reigns of all time. I know he's not LeBron James in that 2016 win and that 2016 Finals win, but he averaged 27 points per game in that series to overcome the Golden State Warriors. And he obviously hit the legendary 3-point shot to put the Cavaliers ahead to end up winning that 2016 NBA Finals, which is the heaviest reign in sports history, in my opinion. So I really do think that this is a pretty reasonable ranking here for Kyrie Irving. I mean, this is one of the best we've ever seen do it, and just almost impossible to guard. And he still is that good today. I know he's coming off an ACL injury. We're going to have to see what happens with Dallas, see if he can build off that legacy. But Unc still has it today, man. He averaged 25 points per game this year off of 47% from the field, 40% from 3, and 92% from the free throw line. If anything, his shot is as money as ever. So again, it should be interesting to see what Dallas does and how he can rebound from the ACL injury. But for me, this is an easy ranking for Kyrie Irving at 44. At number 43, we're kind of throwing it back here again as well. I have Rick Barry. An accolade galore here for Rick Barry. Unbelievable. He's another one of those guys that was able to make the jump from the ABA to the NBA and still be at his peak. 12-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA, 4-time All-ABA. He's on the ABA All-Time team, NBA 75th anniversary team as well. He's the 1974-1975 Finals MVP, Rookie of the Year award, 1975 champ, obviously with the Finals MVP and a scoring title. Just an unbelievable, and a steals title as well. So an unbelievable resume for Rick Barry. I really don't understand how he could be any much lower, at least on people's list. Averaged 25 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 5 assists throughout his career, off 45.6% from the field. Really good player. Again, well, funny enough here, he is known for shooting his free throws granny style. And listen, I know, if Rick Barry went up against some of the guys from today, it would be ugly. He's 6'7", 205 pounds, what he was listed on Basketball Reference. But I know, it will be ugly. But I'm talking of how much these players have dominated in their era and their impact and legacy and their peak. And Rick Barry just had a lot going on for him. And you know what? Even though it was the granny style free throw, and we never seen it before and still really haven't seen it, he shot 89.3% from the free throw line, man. So, I mean, you can't even criticize it. That's better than most players in today's game. That is an elite free throw line percentage make. So, he's also, listen, not many people have knowledge on the finals from back then. Neither do I, honestly. But he went into that 1975 NBA Finals as an underdog against the Bullets, but he averaged 29.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, winning the Finals MVP and sweeping the Bullets as underdog, which is one of the craziest NBA Finals and shocking NBA Finals in NBA history. I know it's a long time ago, but still, that means something. That does mean something even till this day. So, unbelievable resume from Rick Barry. I had to have him here, and that's the reason why I have him over guys like Kyrie, obviously Luka, Embiid, stuff like that. Just a great resume. Getting into my number 42, I have Russell Westbrook. So here we go, a little more, and this isn't really controversial. He's usually in top 50 NBA lists, but one of the most athletic and electric players of all time. And for me, he just does a little bit more for me than Kyrie Irving and Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, guys like that. Close to averaging a triple-double on his career. 21.2 points per game for his career, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, off 44% from the field. He holds the record for the most triple-doubles in NBA history, and it's really not close. He stayed loyal to that OKC franchise for as long as he could, even with Kevin Durant leaving, and he just didn't really have the teams to contend that much. Obviously, he was on some better teams with Houston stuff, and he was with some good teams in OKC. But for me, I really love Russ here. He doesn't have a championship in that trophy case, I know, but he's a 9-time All-Star, 9-time All-NBA, and an MVP. Truly one of the better scorers of our time. 2 scoring titles and 3 assist titles, so the accolades are there. 2 All-Star Game MVPs, if that means something. It doesn't mean much for me, but, it's one of those guys. I really hope he can get a reign late in his career because he kind of deserves it. 2017 MVP was nutty. Dude, 2017 MVP, Russell Westbrook was averaging 31.5 points per game, 10.7 rebounds, and 10.4 assists, which is just insane. One of the better seasons that I've ever seen. Obviously, I wasn't watching too much basketball back then, but I've seen a lot of highlights and stuff from those years. And you take in the fact that 32, 11, and 10 is just ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. So, for me, it's a pretty reasonable ranking. I know Kyrie Irving, who's a couple ranks behind him, has the championship that Russ doesn't have. But Russell Westbrook never played with LeBron James. I will say that to start. So, I think this is a reasonable ranking, and in a second I'll get to my number 41 with the last player in this segment. I have Anthony Davis at 41, and again, this is the last player of today's episode, but honestly, kind of becoming a little underrated at this point. One of the most dominant bigs of our era, averaging 24 and 11 throughout his career. 10-time All-Star. He has the 2020 NBA championship to go along with it, and I don't knock the Lakers for that NBA title. I don't take anything away from them. I don't take anything away from LeBron for that title or anything. 5-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defense, 3 block titles to go along with it. One of the best rim protectors and shot blockers that we have ever seen in basketball history, honestly, but especially in this era. So he has all the accolades to go with it. He has that title in his trophy case, and just defensively as well, just a stud. Also shooting over 52% from the field for his career, which is insane because, again, he's not like it's averaging like 12 to 16 like a normal starting center usually does, or power forward. He's averaging 25 points per game, and that's what he did this past year. Just 32 years old, too, so he still has a lot of time to jump some ranks here. And the Mavs team right now, there's a chance that they could contend. Obviously, again, they're waiting on Kyrie Irving to come back with that ACL injury, but on paper, they look really good. They just got Cooper Flag, and a lot of things could go right, and Anthony Davis, all of a sudden, his resume could get even fatter. It's already pretty thick as of right now. So, again, I don't like to discredit him for that 2020 NBA Finals. I think it's stupid. I don't care if it's the bubble. I don't take anything away from him or LeBron. One of the best bigs of our time, truly is. The reason why I have him over guys like Embiid, who's 5 ranks behind him, I mean, actually, it's pretty self-explanatory. First of all, the accolades and the resumes there, even though AD doesn't have an MVP, but also has a title. And AD really does deserve to be in all top 50 lists. Um, you know, I have him over Russ. The title is a big reason why, but the accolades are kind of like pretty close between him and Russ. I know Russ has an MVP over him, which he does not, but it's tough to win MVP as a big in this day and age. So again, I think it's pretty reasonable here for Anthony Davis, and still plenty of time to make up some ground in this list. But that's going to do it. That is players 50 through 41. This podcast series is officially in the works. I'm really happy about it. I'm glad it's finally done. I've been starting it and doing it for a long time, and it's a fun one. This is a really good one. This is obviously some serious ball talk that a lot of people love to talk basketball about. So I hope you guys liked it. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. What's crazy about it? What do you think? Who should be in it? I don't know. And just in a couple days, 40 through 31 will be out. So thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned for the second part of the 5-part series.